Yes, you can grow something. Hey Homestead family. So I got a email or text recently about someone who was wanting some advice on how to get things growing, and they lived in an apartment, I believe. Just didn't have a lot of room for growing things, but they wanted to learn to grow some things. And I just want to encourage you that I used to be one of those people that I tried gardens in years past, and started out with all these great intentions, and then the weeds just took over, life got busy, and they didn't do so well. Tried that more than once. Plants basically need 4 things: water, sunlight, air, and some sort of nutrient. A lot of growing here on our back porch, actually. I know we've done a lot of videos on our raised beds and all that we have growing in the big garden, but a lot of things start on the back porch and a lot of things stay on the back porch. So, vulnerable transparency. This is my garden starting mess on the back porch. So there are 3 things that I use on a regular basis, and that is compost, or in this case, this is the black cow, sphagnum moss, and just some sort of garden soil. And this is how I get started. Sometimes I do use this perlite for starting seeds, but if I'm just potting plants or whatever, my main ingredients are the compost, the moss, and the peat moss, and the garden soil. 2 ways that you can start plants. You can start them from seeds, or you can start them from propagating from other plants. This is my greenhouse, and most everything from the garden that's in the garden this year started here in this little greenhouse. Now, when we were in the winter, I had the greenhouse in the garage, and I had some very inexpensive fluorescent lights over the seeds that I was starting. But once it warmed up a little bit, I've brought it outside on the back porch, and I do a lot of growing from this greenhouse. Let me show you what I'm starting right now. This is the latest thing that I've started, and this is our corn. If you've ever watched our videos, we have had some horrible failures with corn. So the first year, we planted 500 seeds of corn. We had these big plans. We were going to have this garden out back, and let me show you that area just beyond the fence here. We were going to plant in corn. We were going to feed the deer, but we were also hoping that the deer wouldn't eat enough that we would be able to get some corn from it as well. So, ambitious plan. We pulled out sprinklers, and we started to see corn come. And the sandhill cranes started to pull the corn up. Once it got this high, they were able to pull the plant out of the ground and eat the corn kernel that was the seed that started the corn plant. And they plucked up every single corn plant we planted out there. So planted corn in one of our raised beds, and we actually got a corn plant to grow, but we only planted a couple, and you really can't pollinate corn well if you only have a few corn plants. And it only got about 3 feet high, and that's all we got was a corn plant, no corn. Then, if you recall, the beginning of this year, we had an idea of taking wire waste baskets, planting the corn, and putting the wire waste baskets over the corn to stop the sandhill cranes from being able to pull the corn out of the ground. But none of that ever sprouted. None of those corn plants sprouted. We put in peat moss, we put in black cow, and just kind of tilled it into our in-ground garden, and we never got one single corn plant to come from it. Well, I guess that's one of the big lessons that we've learned is if you garden, you're going to lose things. You're going to have things not grow, have things die. But the question is, are you going to let that stop you? We learn from our failures, and so this time I've decided to start corn in the peat pots, get it up high enough where the seed is, the cotyledon is basically used up, where the cranes won't pull it out of the ground. And then I'm going to plant the peat pots in the in-ground garden and start from there. I'm going to start with, fairly mature plants. On our back porch, this is one of the things that we have growing, and these are cherry tomatoes. And cherry tomatoes are determinate tomatoes, which means they will only get so big and then they stop growing. So we planted these on the back porch mainly because we just want to be able to come out here and pick a few tomatoes off and toss them in our sack. We have growing on our back porch are potato starts, and so we just planted 3 sweet potatoes from the grocery store in some dirt, and you don't even have to completely cover them up, but we just keep them moist, and every time we get a new branch off of our tomato plant, we pull it off, we put it in some water and root it, and that's how we started our last raised bed of sweet potato. My husband is actually using this pretty neat rolling cart here because we can take it out from under the porch cover or pull it back under the porch cover so it can get natural rainwater to be watered. But these are his hot pepper plants that the dog is going to be the death of us. But these are his hot pepper plants. He's got jalapenos, Carolina Reapers, datil, and habaneros planted out here. This is my old grill that we bought a new one, and so instead of throwing this one away, I decided to repurpose it. And so I grow my herbs in this makeshift bed. We've got some parsley and some oregano growing, and that's cilantro over here that's bolted actually, and then we've got some basil back here in the back. These are sunflowers that I've started also in pots. They're a little spindly, and I'm working on trying to get them a little stronger before I plant them out. But I'll be planting these out in the garden by the corn. So there's our sunflowers. Those are mammoth sunflowers. Strawberries from the back porch. And we got enough strawberries from these 3 little plants, which I don't think they're finished producing yet, because if you see, there's a little strawberry right there. But we got enough of these strawberries from these 3 plants for our family to have strawberry shortcake one evening, and not to mention just walking by and picking strawberries off of the plants. Another pot with cherry tomatoes. Greenhouse is sort of like a mess of just random stuff now. I did want to show you, this is a tabibua tree that my daughter gave me a seed, and she gave me 6 seeds actually, and of the 6, this is the only one that I was able to get to sprout and grow, and I'll be potting it into a larger pot soon. And then here's my own little greenhouse in a greenhouse, and I was going to show you one of my students from our local homeschool co-op gave me this for end of year present. And so I planted, these are aloe vera seeds, And so I planted them, and they've actually just started to sprout. So sometimes if you don't have a greenhouse, a plastic bag, a sealed plastic bag with a little seedling pot inside of it will work as well. I just want to encourage you that if it doesn't work the first time, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you've learned a way that doesn't work. So keep at it. Do your research. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've watched and learned from to learn how to grow whatever it is I have an aspiration to grow. And I'll go look up that specific plant, learn what kind of, how much sunlight it needs, how much water it needs, how much, what kind of soil it needs, the nutrients in the soil for that plant. There's so much vast information out there that there's no reason anyone can't grow something. Whether you're growing on your back porch, or whether you're growing in raised garden beds, or whether you're growing an in-ground garden, do your best, give it all the attention that it needs, and I think you'll be successful. I think you can do this. I know you can do this. And like we always say, do your best and let God do the rest. Bye-bye, you guys.